Hey friends, welcome to the May 2024 edition of Reset and Restore. Today we're going to have a pretty chill, gentle class, get a little movement through the spine and maybe build a little heat, but not too much because it's so warm out. So for today's class, I'll be using and cueing with a blanket and two blocks. You are more than welcome to use these or any other props that you feel will be supportive. We will do a few forward folds, so if you're somebody who likes to have a bolster or a pillow to sort of like rest your torso on, I welcome you to grab one of those too. All right, so let's get started in a comfortable seated position. I'm gonna go ahead and prop my hips up on a blanket just to give myself the support I need for these hips that are a little bit tighter at this time of the year. And this helps me keep a nice long spine. So once you're in a comfortable seated position, you might wiggle around a little bit until you find a spot that feels good. And then let's draw the spine up long and let the eyes close for just a moment as we prepare to enter our practice and bring our attention fully into the present moment. Connecting with the breath, connecting with the body for this nice class, this short period of time that's just for you, giving ourselves an opportunity to regulate internally and just calm down a little bit during what I know is an incredibly busy time of year for so many of us. So settling in here, really feeling the breath as it enters your body, watching that breath. And let's take a few rounds of box breath. So what that looks like is together we'll inhale for a count of 4. We'll hold at the top for a count of 4. We'll exhale for a count of 4, and then we'll hold at the bottom for a count of 4. So 4, 4, 4, 4, hence the name box breathing. So if you'd like to join me, we'll begin together breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. Inhaling, holding at the top, exhaling here, and holding at the bottom. Inhaling, holding at the top, exhaling, and holding at the bottom. And one more time, inhaling, holding at the top, exhaling, and holding at the bottom. And then we'll release that pattern of breathing. Inhale and stretch the arms up long above us. And let the arms drop to our sides, letting the eyes blink open as we move into our physical practice. So let's start by just warming the spine up a little bit. We'll drop the chin to the chest and drop right ear to the right shoulder. And then let's come back through center and bring left ear to left shoulder. And we'll do that a few times, slowly, gently moving from side to side as we just take these gentle half circles with the neck. One more time to each side. Nice. And from here, we'll come back through center and lift the head back up. Now let's reach that left hand out beside us. You can tent the fingertips or plant the palm on the floor. And we'll inhale the right arm up and over, stretching out that side body, thinking about keeping that right hip really heavy here on the mat. Reconnecting with the breath here. Inhaling up through center. Exhaling, dropping right hand to the floor, coming up and over with that left hand, stretching out the left side body, letting the left hip remain heavy there. connecting with that breath, feeling the body, and coming back through center. Let's draw the spine up long here and just gently begin to twist, bringing left hand to the outside of the right leg, and then bringing the right hand to the hip or just behind us on the mat, and then really gently twisting and turning to look over that right shoulder. Nice. And then we'll come back through center and twist to the other side, bringing right hand to the outside of the left knee, bringing the left hand to the hip or just behind us on the mat, and gently turning to look over that left shoulder. Connecting with that breath, really drawing the spine up long with each inhale. And then coming back through center. Nice. From here, let's continue warming up the spine, doing a little seated cat-cow. So from here, we'll drop the chin to the chest and tuck the tail under. So we're arching through the spine, exhaling, and then inhaling, opening the chest forward, looking up, tipping the tail backward, and then sort of fluidly moving through those two postures, the cat and the cow, with your inhale and exhale. Really, again, thinking about staying connected with the breath throughout your practice today, giving you an opportunity to really gauge the effort that you're putting into your practice and letting that go here. From here, let's stretch our feet out long in front of us on the mat. I'm going to scooch forward on my blanket so that my sit bones are just on the edge of my blanket, and that allows me to keep my spine nice and long. Flexing the toes back toward the face. And then thinking about hinging from the hips so that the chest is coming towards the toes. That helps us keep the spine long rather than sort of collapsing over ourselves. So we want to think about hinging forward rather than leaning over the legs. And you can walk those fingers as far as feels good for you today. If you're really feeling bendy, you might come all the way forward and drop the head. Just kind of playing around with it until you find the area that feels right for you. And again, staying connected with that breath, letting that be sort of the guide for your practice. If you ever notice that you're like breathing really heavy, or you're not able to catch your breath, or maybe you're holding your breath, that can be a really great indicator that perhaps you've pushed past your edge for this practice. And so the invitation, if that ever does happen, is to simply back off a little bit, maybe back out of the posture, and give yourself a moment to reset and come back to the posture in a way that feels really supportive for you, helping us tune into our internal experience of the practice, respecting our nervous systems. There's no need to overactivate ourselves here. In fact, we're trying to do the opposite, to restore just a little bit. All right, so gently letting go of that forward fold. You might wiggle your legs a little bit. And then from here, let's plant our feet about hip width on the mat or the floor in front of us. Plant the hands outside of our hips, and then gently begin to lift the hips up toward the sky, pressing the belly, the chest up, maybe even letting the head fall back for a reverse table. And then we'll come back to a seated position. And from here, let's widen our legs. So thinking about, we don't need to be super wide. It's whatever feels good for you. So if having a narrower, wide-legged forward fold is better for you today, I welcome you to take the version that works for you. So from here, again, we're thinking about hinging forward at the hips so that we're sort of shining that heart forward rather than dumping into the low back, keeping that spine nice and long. If you have a pillow or a bolster, that can always be a nice thing to help support us. You could also take blocks, forearms to blocks, maybe even forehead to blocks. Just finding the version of the posture that's working for you today. And once you're there, let's reconnect with that breath. Letting the breath slow down. Letting the fresh oxygen of each breath wash through the body, restoring these muscles, tendons, and ligaments, all those connective tissues, our organs. All of them really rely on that fresh oxygen. Settling into that breath here. And then as you're ready, we'll gently begin to back out of that posture. Maybe wiggle the legs a little bit more, but don't move yet. We're going to take it to the side. So there are multiple ways you could approach this. You can leave your legs wide, or you can tuck one leg in so that the sole of your foot comes to or toward the inside of the opposite thigh. And then we'll gently twist so that we're facing the chest toward the foot. And from here, you might want to grab your blocks and use those as a support as you begin again to hinge forward from that hip to come into this head to knee pose. Thinking about flexing the toes back toward the face. If you don't want to use blocks or you don't have them, you can reach to or towards the calf, the ankle, the foot. Again, it's really about finding what's working for you today. And then once you're there, let's reconnect with that breath, sending that breath deep into the hips. Nice. And we'll slowly back out of that. Lean back, do whatever you need to do, shake it out a little bit, and then we'll swap to the other side. If you kept those legs wide, well, all you have to do is twist to face that opposite leg. Otherwise, you can fold the right leg in so that the sole of the foot is touching or near the inner left thigh. You might want to bring some props with you over to the side if you're using them. And from here, again, we'll think about hinging forward at the hips. Reconnecting with that breath. And really starting to notice the differences between this side and the first side. Breathing deeply into any areas that feel tense or tight. Keeping that leg active, the outstretched leg active. And then as you're ready, we'll walk back out. And from here, we'll make our way onto our backs for a couple of postures. So finding your way onto your back in whatever way works for you and your body. And then we'll plant our feet on the floor about hip width apart. We want to be able to almost touch those heels with our fingers if we reach from side to side, but not quite there. Giving ourselves some space, protecting the knees. And from here, let's press down through all four corners of the feet, really spreading the toes wide. Bringing the arms to the mat beside you and pressing through the arms. And from here, we'll begin to tilt the tail up and roll the hips up to the sky, one vertebra at a time for our hip bridge. And then hold here for a moment, really thinking about engaging the full lower body. And then gently coming back to the mat, resting for a moment, noticing how the body feels now. And let's do that again. So, planting feet firmly, spreading toes, pressing down through the arms, engaging the core and the glutes, and then slowly rolling the hips up to the sky, one vertebra at a time. And then gently unrolling, uncurling the spine, coming back down to the mat, resting here for a moment, releasing that effort, finding the ease. And then one last time, spreading the toes, planting all four corners of the feet, pressing down through the hands and arms, and rolling the hips up to the sky, one vertebra at a time. And unrolling and curling, coming back down. From here, we'll draw the knees into the chest and rock side to side a couple of times. And now let's drop both of the knees to the right side. Outstretching the opposite arm, maybe turning to look over that shoulder. If there's a big gap between your knees here and it's feeling uncomfortable, you can always bring a prop, whether it's a blanket or a block or anything else, in between the knees for comfort. Always meeting your body where it is. Nice. And then we'll come through center, draw those knees into the chest once more, and then drop knees to the opposite side, outstretching the other arm, maybe turning to look over that shoulder, wringing out the spine here. Nice. And we'll come back through center, draw those knees in toward the chest one more time. And from here, let's make our way onto all fours in whatever fashion works for you. If you have tender knees or you're working on a hard surface, you might like to place a blanket down beneath where your knees are going to be, because we'll be on our all fours for just a few moments here. So finding our way into tabletop position where the knees are under the hips, the hands are under the shoulders. We're drawing the spine long from tip to tail, engaging the core, just really thinking about activating through the arms, the legs, the inner thighs, the pelvic floor, the belly, the back, getting into an active posture here, even if we're not doing a lot of effort. And then from here, we'll bring our big toes to touch and widen our knees. Set the hips back towards the knees and stretch those arms forward, bringing the forehead to or towards the mat for child's pose. Letting yourself rest here for a moment. If you have a lot of space between your glutes and your heels, you can always bring a block or two, or a blanket or a pillow, really any kind of prop that you prefer, to kind of close that space if that would feel more supportive and comfortable for you. Breathing deeply here, really connecting with that breath. Enjoying the last couple of moments here. And then as you're ready, we'll begin to walk the hands in, press up, and remove any props that you were using. And from here, we'll come back into that tabletop position, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And let's drop the belly, tip the tail up, open the heart forward, and look up for cow. Inhaling. And exhaling, tucking the tail, tucking the chin, arching through the spine for cat. Inhaling, cow. Exhaling, cat. And one more time, inhaling, cow, looking up. And exhaling, cat, curling the chin and the tailbone. And then we'll come back through center. And now let's step the left foot forward. Hands can be on either side of that foot, or if you prefer, could be on blocks here. And we'll just bend and straighten that front knee a few times, lubricating the knee joint, warming up through the hips. And from here, let's allow the hips to drop, allow the chest to open forward, and settle into this low lunge for a moment, sending the breath deep into the hips. Nice. And from here, let's keep that right hand planted and open up with the left arm. So we're twisting in our low lunge here. If this feels good, stay here. If you would prefer, you might bend that back heel toward your glute and reach back for that leg. And releasing that, dropping the foot if you have it, coming back through center, and then we'll swap sides. So stepping the left foot back, stepping the right foot forward, finding your version of the low lunge on the other side, bending and straightening that front knee a few times, knowing that it's so natural to be different, feel different from side to side. So really thinking about what this side needs here in terms of depth, letting the hips drop, letting the chest open forward, breathing deeply into those hips. And then we'll sweep that right arm up and open, twisting. And perhaps you'd like to bend that back leg and reach back for that foot. And then we'll come back through center. Replace that right knee beneath the hips. Come back through tabletop. Widen those knees, touch the toes, and sit back once more for child's pose. Breathing deeply, sending the breath deep into the hips, to any parts of the body that feel tight, sore. Nice. And from here, we'll come once more into tabletop position. Let's sweep the left arm up to the sky and then thread that left hand behind the right shoulder, behind the right wrist, bringing the left shoulder to the mat, bringing the left temple to the mat, and walking those right fingertips forward. This might be enough of a stretch behind your shoulder, but if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you can always lean over to the left, using a little bit of a pin and stretch method here to get into that sticky upper back, that sticky shoulder blade area. Breathing deeply, sending the breath deep into those sticky areas. Nice. And we'll bring that right hand back beneath the right shoulder. Come back through center. Pause for a moment. And then we'll sweep right arm up to the sky and thread right arm behind left wrist, bringing right shoulder, right temple to the mat. Walking those fingers forward. Maybe leaning over to the right side. Breathing deeply here, sending the breath into those sticky areas. And once again, noticing the difference between this side and the other side. And then we'll bring that left hand beneath the left shoulder. Press up into tabletop. And from here, let's walk the hands forward to the front of the mat. Walk the knees back and slowly lower onto the belly. And now we'll bring those elbows beneath the shoulders. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. And open the chest forward for Sphinx. Legs are active. Glutes are mostly relaxed, maybe 20-25% engaged. Pressing firmly down through the hands and the forearms. Opening that heart forward. Breathing deeply here. Nice. And from here, we'll lower down and then gently press up and back into child's pose, knees wide, toes touching, hips towards the heels, forehead towards the mat, reaching forward with those arms. Breathing deeply, breathing here. And then we'll come out of child's and make our way onto our back one more time. Making your way onto your back in whatever way works for you. And from here, we'll draw the knees into the chest. Maybe rock from side to side. From here, let's drop both feet to the floor and cross the left ankle over the right thigh, just above the knee, pressing that left knee out so that we're getting a stretch in the outer hip, maybe the glute. If you'd like to change the way this posture feels, you can draw this entire shape in towards your chest, reaching behind the hamstring or below the knee on the calf. For this figure 4, breathing deeply, sending that breath deep. Reconnecting with that breath, reconnecting with the body, slowing down here. Nice, and we'll let that go. And we'll switch sides, bringing the right ankle on top of the left knee, pressing that right knee out, Again, from side to side, this often feels different, so evaluating what would be right for the second side for you. You might consider drawing that entire shape in towards your chest, holding behind the hamstring or below the knee in front of the calf. And then sending that breath super deep into the hips. Nice, and we'll let that go. Unwrap the legs, bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall open. And we'll use this as our final posture today. So if it feels uncomfortable for you to have knees sort of hanging in the middle of the air here, you can always place blocks underneath, pillows, blankets, whatever you've got. You might like to bring hands to rest on the belly, and then we'll gently allow the eyes to close as we close our practice with a few moments of gentle rest here, allowing the body to really integrate all of the work we've done with our nervous system today. Our parasympathetic nervous system is what helps trigger our body into rest and digest mode, allows us to come from a state of high arousal, a state of stress, into a state of equilibrium, allowing our bodies, our nervous systems to really calm down and release some stress. And it's so important to take just these few moments at the end of the practice to allow the body to do that integration, giving ourselves a little bit of a transition before whatever comes next in the day. Feeling the heaviness of the body on the floor, melting a little more into your mat with each exhale, allowing the breath to slow and deepen. Relaxing the brow, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the belly. And as you're ready to begin transitioning into whatever is next in your day, we'll begin to gently awaken through the fingers and the toes. Stretch the arms and legs long on our mat. Choose a side. Roll over onto that side. Pause there for just a moment to savor this transition, to enjoy the liminal space. And then as you're ready, we'll press up into a seated position once more. And we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining me for today's practice. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Happy commencement for those of you who are celebrating this weekend, and we will see you next time.